lawyer for Piper and her mother declined to comment for our report, but in court papers, they say all the allegations of wrongdoing are false. A trial is set for next fall.
It's gonna be a super awesome video!
On January 1st, 2026, an 18-year-old girl pressed one button and made $2.9 million in 24 hours. Her name is Piper Rockelle. Just years ago, she was a child star making YouTube videos for kids. Now, she sells adult content to millions of subscribers. But here is the part that will haunt you. The men who paid for her content on day one had been watching her since she was 9 years old. And the reality behind this viral moment is far darker than anyone expected. The day innocence became currency. The clock struck midnight on New Year's Day 2026, and 18-year-old Piper Rockelle pressed publish on the account she'd been counting down to for months. Within 60 minutes, her OnlyFans dashboard displayed a number that would make headlines across the world: $1 million. By the end of her first 24 hours, that figure had ballooned to $2.9 million, breaking platform records and igniting a firestorm of commentary that stretched from Twitter to network news desks. "My first day," she posted on X alongside a screenshot of her earnings. "Forever grateful." The post was deleted shortly after, but the internet never forgets. Neither do the millions of followers who had watched her grow up on their screens since she was 9 years old. The internet lost its mind. Some people celebrated her business success. Others were horrified. How could a girl who built her entire following on children's content now be selling explicit photos to adults? The backlash was brutal and relentless. Critics called her disgusting. They said she had betrayed her young fans. They questioned what kind of person makes this choice. But Piper fired back with words that cut straight to the bone. She posted a response that made everyone uncomfortable. "You guys cannot convince me that I'm the gross one," she wrote. "Tell me why every single one of my search bars is Piper Rockelle unblurred photos, Piper Rockelle link photos, Piper Rockelle ass pics. Y'all are so quick to hate it, yet so fast to search that up. Who's the real gross one? You." And that is when the conversation shifted. Because Piper was not wrong. For years, people had been searching for inappropriate content of hers when she was still a minor. For years, grown men had been leaving disturbing comments on her videos. For years, the algorithm had served her content to audiences that had no business watching a child perform. So when she finally turned 18 and gave them exactly what they wanted, who was really to blame? To understand how Piper Rockelle ended up here, we need to go back to the very beginning. Back to a small town in Georgia, where a little girl without a father was about to become one of the most famous children on the internet. The girl who never knew her father. Piper Rockelle Smith was born on August 21, 2007 in Canton, Georgia. It is a quiet town in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where people go to church on Sundays and everyone knows their neighbor. But Piper's life was different from the start. Her father left before she was even born. He walked out while her mother, Tiffany, was still pregnant and never came back. Piper would later say that she only met her biological father once as a child. She could barely remember his face. In interviews, she described the experience of growing up without him as something she just had to accept. "My dad left before I was even born," she once said. "I did not have a father figure growing up." Her mother, Tiffany, raised her alone. She ran a pet grooming business and homeschooled Piper, keeping her daughter close at all times. And from the very beginning, Tiffany had big dreams for her little girl. By the time Piper was 3 years old, she was already competing in beauty pageants. 3 years old, spray tans and rhinestone crowns, and stage makeup on a toddler. Her mother coached her to smile bigger, stand straight, and pose prettier. The pageant world in the South is intense. Mothers push their daughters hard, and Tiffany was no exception. She learned how performance worked. She understood the value of attention, and when social media started to explode, she saw an opportunity that beauty pageants could never match. By age 8, Piper had her first account on musical.ly, which later became TikTok. She posted lip-sync videos and dance routines with the innocent joy of a child performing for an invisible audience. Tiffany managed everything. She controlled every post, handled every account, and watched the follower count climb higher and higher. Within a few years, Piper had millions of followers, and brand deals were coming in. When Piper was 10, she landed a role on a web series called Manny. It was her first real acting job, and it seemed like her career was taking off. But Tiffany pulled her from the show because she felt Piper was not getting enough lines. This would become a pattern. Tiffany is making decisions. Tiffany is controlling the career. Tiffany ensured that Piper remained the center of the universe at all costs. Shortly after leaving Manny, Tiffany announced that they were moving to Los Angeles. She also introduced her new boyfriend to Piper's followers. His name was Hunter Hill, and he was a 20-something video editor. But in Piper's videos, he was introduced as her older brother. It was a lie that would become part of a much bigger deception. Building an empire on broken childhoods. Los Angeles swallowed them whole. A single mother, a preteen daughter, and a boyfriend with a camera. Together, they were about to build one of the most successful child influencer operations YouTube had ever seen. Tiffany's plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Surround Piper with other kids who want to be famous. Create content constantly. Turn friendship into fuel for the algorithm. She called the group The Squad, and at its peak, it included some of the biggest child influencers on the internet. Sophie Fergie, Jensen Ramirez, Gavin Magnus, Sawyer Charbino, Eliana Walmsley, Lev Cameron. The names rotated like cast members on a reality show, but Piper was always the star. Tiffany pitched it to parents as an opportunity. Let your kids appear in Piper's videos and they will gain exposure, followers, and maybe even brand deals. Some families were so eager that they moved into the same house as Tiffany and Piper. They lived together, ate together, and filmed together. The line between childhood friendship and commercial production disappeared completely. The content was designed for maximum engagement, viral challenges, elaborate pranks, and crush videos. So many crush videos. Preteens were paired together in staged romantic scenarios. First kisses captured on camera, last to stop kissing competitions, truth or dare games with questions no child should be answering. My boyfriend rates my outfits videos where young girls modeled clothes for even younger boys to judge. Hunter Hill served as the director and editor. He was churning out over 70 videos per month across multiple channels. He took a percentage of the profits. And Tiffany managed the whole operation with total control. Former squad members would later claim that she told the girls to wear short skirts and low-cut tops. She allegedly told the boys to wear tight pants to show off their bulges. Everything was calculated to get clicks. At its peak, Piper was earning between $300,000 and $500,000 every single month. Her annual income reached somewhere between $4 and $7 million. She had over 10 million YouTube subscribers. A merchandise empire, brand deals with major companies, and a fan base that called themselves the Piperazzi. In August 2021, something happened that cracked open the carefully constructed facade of Piper Rockelle's empire. Grammy-winning singer Pink logged onto Twitter and asked a question that would change everything. When the world finally paid attention. Pink's tweet landed like a grenade in August 2021. How many kids like Piper Rockelle are being exploited by their parents? And at what point do the rest of us say this is not okay for a 13-year-old to be posing in a bikini while her mother takes the photo? Pink had stumbled across photos of 13-year-old Piper in bikinis on Instagram, photos taken by her own mother, and the singer was disturbed by what she saw. Her tweet went viral, and suddenly everyone was paying attention to the concerns that critics had been raising for years. YouTube videos with titles like "Piper Rockelle Needs to Be Saved" and "The Exploitation of Piper Rockelle" started getting hundreds of thousands of views. Chris Hansen from To Catch a Predator weighed in, blaming platforms for enabling child exploitation. The conversation had finally gone mainstream. Piper and Tiffany responded with coordinated statements. "There is nothing wrong with being in a bikini," Piper said. "Pictures of teenagers in bikinis having fun are not sexual. They are only sexual if you view us that way." She pointed out that Pink herself was 14 when she joined a girl group. Why was it okay for Pink to chase fame, but not for Piper? YouTube removed 3 thumbnail images from Piper's channel for violating its child safety policy. But what came next was far more devastating. In January 2022, 11 former squad members and their parents filed a $22 million lawsuit against Tiffany Smith and Hunter Hill. The allegations in that 147-page complaint are almost too disturbing to describe. The children claimed they suffered emotional, verbal, physical, and at times misconduct while creating content for Piper's YouTube channel. According to the lawsuit, Tiffany would allegedly use fake voices and animal alter egos to ask the children sexual questions. She allegedly entered their rooms at night and touched them against their will. 4 children claimed she spanked and slapped their buttocks and even poked at their bodies through their clothing. One child alleged Tiffany ambushed her, grabbed her by the neck, and threw her onto a bed before behaving inappropriately. Perhaps the most disturbing allegation involved Piper's used undergarments. One plaintiff claimed she accompanied Tiffany to the post office, where Tiffany allegedly mailed several of Piper's soiled training bras and underwear to an unknown man. Tiffany allegedly remarked that old men like to smell this stuff. The lawsuit also detailed alleged sabotage campaigns. When squad members left Tiffany and Hunter, allegedly used bots to mess with their subscriber counts. They allegedly flagged videos as inappropriate to get them removed. Most disturbingly, they allegedly embedded videos featuring the minor plaintiffs on adult websites to trigger YouTube's content restrictions. One quote from the lawsuit stands out above all others. Ms. Smith would often boast to plaintiffs and others about being the madam of YouTube and a pimp of YouTube, and that she makes kiddie material. YouTube responded by demonetizing Piper's channel. The money stopped flowing. The empire was crumbling. And Tiffany filed a $30 million countersuit accusing the plaintiffs' mothers of conspiracy and extortion. Then she quietly dropped it before anyone could respond. The price of stolen childhoods. The lawsuit dragged on for nearly 3 years. Throughout the entire ordeal, Tiffany and Hunter denied everything. They called the claims baseless and accused the families of being stage mom Karens motivated by jealousy and greed. In October 2024, both parties finally reached a settlement, $1.85 million split among the 11 plaintiffs. That works out to roughly $168,000 per child for years of alleged abuse. The settlement included no admission of wrongdoing from Tiffany or Hunter. "We did not pursue this lawsuit to change the industry," said Angela Charbino, mother of one of the plaintiffs, but to bring awareness that predators can be found in any field. This was never about the money. It was about holding an individual accountable, telling the truth, and taking a step toward healing. Sophie Fergie, who had once been Piper's best friend and roommate, spoke with devastating clarity. "My youth was stripped away at a very young age because of Tiffany Rockelle. This lawsuit was never about money. It was to make sure she could not do what she did to me to another kid." Sophie described her time with the squad as some of the hardest years of my life, and I am only 12. For Piper, the settlement seemed to offer closure. She told interviewers she had prayed for it to be over. And then it was, thank God, she said. But she was wrong. It was not over. 6 months later, Netflix released Bad Influence: The Dark Side of Kidfluencing. The 3-part documentary series reignited every allegation. Former squad members who had been silent were now telling their stories on camera to millions of viewers worldwide. The documentary shot straight to the top of the Netflix charts. Piper said she did not watch it, but she could not escape it either. The clips flooded her social media feeds. The commentary was everywhere. "I fell apart," she admitted in an interview. "I had awful thoughts." But even as the documentary exposed the darkest chapters of her childhood, something else was happening. Piper was preparing for what would come next, and the countdown to her 18th birthday had already begun. The countdown. The year 2025 became a long public countdown to Piper Rockelle's 18th birthday, and anyone paying attention could see exactly where it was headed. In February, while still 17 years old, Piper started collaborating with the Bop House. This is a content collective made up of OnlyFans creators, including Sophie Rain, who has made over $80 million on the platform. Piper posted dance videos with these adult content creators, and the optics were impossible to ignore. A minor surrounded by women who make millions from explicit content. By May, Piper had opened an account on Brand Army. This is a subscription platform similar to OnlyFans, but it technically does not allow nude content. People magazine reported that her account was labeled Parent Managed. Subscribers to the highest tier at $100 per month could request custom looks from the 17-year-old. "It is the same photos I post on Instagram," Piper told Rolling Stone. "And I just get paid for it a little bit." When asked if she worried about her subscribers' intentions, she shrugged. "You are well aware of what happens on the internet. Critics saw this as the final stage of a long grooming process. Years of sexualized content. The bikini photos, the crush videos, the alleged inappropriate behavior by the adults around her. All of it, they said, had been conditioning, preparing an audience, building anticipation, grooming not just Piper, but the millions of followers waiting for her to become legal." Piper's response was defiance wrapped in empowerment language. "I am finally in control," she declared as her 18th birthday approached. "It is time to protect my name and my future." She spoke of taking ownership of Piper Rockelle Inc. and transferring control from her mother to herself. On August 21st, 2025, Piper turned 18. 4 months later, she officially joined the Bop House. And on January 1st, 2026, she pressed publish on the future that critics say had been building since she was 3 years old in a pageant crown. Piper's question cuts even deeper. What about the people who watched? The millions of views on crush videos featuring preteens, the engagement on bikini photos that the algorithm boosted precisely because they attracted the wrong kind of attention. The culture that celebrates youth and beauty and then acts surprised when the youth being celebrated learns to monetize herself. Here is the hardest truth of all. Piper Rockelle never had a chance to be anything other than what she became. From the pageant stage at 3 to Musical Lee at 8 to YouTube at 9 to OnlyFans at 18. Her entire existence has been a performance managed by adults with financial interests in her success. She was never allowed to fail, to experiment, to grow up in private, to make mistakes that were not monetized, to discover who she might have been without cameras capturing every moment. Her father abandoned her before her birth. Her mother turned her into a product. The men who allegedly lurked in her childhood shadows taught her exactly what her value was. And now, at 18, she is collecting on it. Nearly $3 million in a single day. The highest-earning debut in OnlyFans history. A broken record built on broken dreams. And here is the cruelest irony of all. Piper does not believe she needs saving. She still lives with her mother. She still defends Tiffany against all accusations. "You know where I live?" she posted after the Netflix documentary. "Come get me if you want to save me. If you want to save Piper, stop talking, please. Because by hurting my mother, you are hurting a part of me." She believes she is finally free. She believes she is finally in control. She believes the millions of dollars flooding her account represent empowerment, independence, and victory. Maybe she is right. Maybe this is what success looks like in an industry that commodified her childhood. Maybe the only way to win a rigged game is to become the house. But that little girl is gone now, replaced by an 18-year-old millionaire who learned long ago that her worth was measured in views and subscribers and dollars. The world made Piper Rockelle, and now the world is paying, literally and figuratively, for what it created. In a Rolling Stone interview before her OnlyFans launch, Piper was asked what advice she would give to young aspiring influencers and their parents. She paused for a long moment, as if the question had never occurred to her. Then she answered with words that will haunt this story forever. "I do not know. I have never known anything else." What are your thoughts on Piper Rockelle's tragic story? Share in the comments.